How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, June 20th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Saturday, June 19th, 2021. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that goes on with today's matchups as well as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. First off, I want to thank ESPN, NHL, and the MLB and soccer respective websites for, of course, giving me the numbers and the data to at least do this show. So I want to thank them for that. And without further ado, I'm going to get started in the NBA. There was only one NBA playoff game yesterday, and it took place in Brooklyn. It was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals matchup as the second seed Brooklyn Nets hosted the third seed Milwaukee Bucks. Coming into yesterday's game, there were 6 teams competing for the NBA championship, and that number was dropped to 5 after the third seed Milwaukee Bucks went to Brooklyn and were able to eliminate the second seed Brooklyn Nets after beating them 115-111 after outscoring the Nets 6-2 in overtime to pull off this series win. For the second seed Brooklyn Nets and for the final game of their 2020-2021 campaign, their leading scorer was their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. He finished with 48 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists in 53 minutes as he shot 17 for 36 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and 10 for 11 from the foul line on the night. Alongside him, their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, out of Arizona State, would finish with 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in 53 minutes. James Harden would finish shooting 5 for 17 from the field, 2 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line on the night. And in his final matchup of the 2020-21 campaign with his new team, their elite starting power forward, Blake Griffin, would finish with 17 points and 11 rebounds alongside 3 assists, and he also fouled out in 40 minutes. He would shoot 7 for 12, 3 for 6 from 3 as well in those 40 minutes. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their leading scorer was their elite starting power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo out of Greece. He would finish with 40 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists in 50 minutes as he shot 15 for 24 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and 18 for 14 from the foul line on the night. Alongside him in the starting lineup, their starting small forward, Chris Middleton, would finish with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals in 52 minutes, as Middleton shot 9 for 26 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the third seed Milwaukee Bucks have advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals. They are the first of the Eastern Conference teams to do so. They will face off against the winner of Game 7 in the other Eastern Conference semifinal matchup. They have to wait to see if they're going to play their next 2 games at home against the 5th seed Atlanta Hawks, or if they're going to play their next 2 games of the playoffs on the road at Philadelphia against the 76ers. So that really takes us to what's going on to our final game of the conference semifinal round, which happens today. But before that, looking at what's going on today, it will be Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals on ABC at 3:30 as the second seed Phoenix Suns are going to host the 4th seed Los Angeles Clippers for Game 1. The second seed Phoenix Suns made it here after sweeping the 3rd seed Denver Nuggets, but bad news for the Suns that their elite starting point guard Chris Paul is ruled out due to COVID testing protocol. And then the 4th seed Clippers were able to make it here after beating the 1st seed Utah Jazz in 6 games. So, of course, that's how they got here. And following that matchup at 8 o'clock, it will be Game 7 of the other Eastern Conference semifinal, of the last conference semifinal matchup, as the 1st seed in the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia 76ers, are going to host the 5th seed Atlanta Hawks. Like I said, this game's going to be on TNT. Series tied at 7, and the winner of this matchup will face off against the 3rd seed in the East, Milwaukee Bucks, for the next round. So that's what the NBA playoffs are looking like at this very moment, as 5 teams are left competing for the title. Jumping out to see what's going on with NHL hockey as we switched the momentum really quickly. Jumping out to New York, the New York Islanders hosted the Tampa Bay Lightning and were able to pull up a 3-2 win after scoring all three of their goals in the second period. With this win, the New York Islanders, the Eastern Division champions, have evened up the series against the defending Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. And Game 5 will be played in Tampa Bay, as it is now officially a best-of-3 series to determine who's going to go and advance to the Stanley Cup final. Looking forward to what's going on today. Today will be Game 4 of the other Stanley Cup semifinal matchup, as the North Division champs Montreal Canadiens are going to host the Western Division champs Las Vegas Golden Knights on NBC Sports Network. The Montreal Canadiens currently lead this series 2-1, as a win here at home can put them one win away from the Stanley Cup final, as the Las Vegas Golden Knights, fighting for their playoff lives, are of course looking to even up the series right here and right now. So right now, that is what the NHL is looking like as we transition to see what's been going on in the baseball diamond. Starting off in Washington, D.C., the Washington Nationals had the only what looks like the only doubleheader of the game of the day yesterday. In the first matchup, they hosted the NL East leading New York Mets. In the first matchup, the Mets would beat the Nationals 5-1, as they were able to score all 5 of their runs in the first 5 innings versus the Nats. For the Nats in the first match, the start and the loss would go to Joe Ross. He allowed 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 5. With this loss, Joe Ross is now 3-7 as a starting pitcher for the Nationals. In their batting lineup, their shortstop Trey Turner would go 3-for-4 with a run. He was the only player for the Nationals that had more than one hit. The only other player with a hit was their elite right fielder Juan Soto. For the New York Mets in the first matchup, the start would be given to David Peterson. David Peterson allowed 1 earned run in 4.2 innings pitched, as he struck out 6. The win will go to the Mets' first relief pitcher, Aaron Loup. He allowed he allowed no earned runs in 0.1 inning pitched, as he struck out the only batter that he had to get out. With this win, Loup is now 2-0 as a relief pitcher on the season. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than one hit was their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor. He would go 3-for-4 with 5 RBIs and 2 runs, as he hit his 7th and 8th home runs of the season. With this win, the New York Mets are now 36-27. That is the best record in the National League East. They have, following this first matchup, the Washington Nationals would end up beating the Mets 6-2 in the second game, as they would score 4 of their 6 runs in the 4th inning they scored all 6 of their runs before the Mets could score their 2 in the 7th. For the Mets in the second game, the start and the loss would end up going to Robert Zellman. Zellman would allow 1 earned run in 2 innings pitched, as he was unable to strike out a batter. With this loss, he is now 0-1 as a starting pitcher for the Mets. In their batting lineup, their catcher, James McCann, would go 2-for-4, and the only other player with more than one hit was their center fielder, Albert Almora Jr. He went 2-for-3. For the Washington Nationals in Game 2, the start and the win would go to John Lester. He allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched, as he struck out 6. With this win, John Lester is now 1-2 as a starting pitcher for the Nationals this season. The save would go to Brad Hand. He allowed no earned runs in 0.1 inning pitched. That would be his 14th save of the season. In their batting lineup, their left fielder, Kyle Schwarber, would go 2-for-4 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs, as Schwarber hit his 14th and 15th home runs of the season. Their shortstop, Trey Turner, would go 2-for-3 with an RBI and a run, as Trey Turner hit his 11th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Juan Soto, would be the only other player with more than one hit, as he went 2-for-3 for the Nats. With this split series, on the road, with this split series, the New York Mets are now 36-28. That is the best record in the National League East. They currently hold the 2nd seed in the National League at the moment among division leaders. Considering they lost their last game, they've lost 6 of their last 10 games, and they currently sit 4 games ahead of the second place Philadelphia Phillies in the division. With this split series, the Washington Nationals are now 32-36. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They have won 7 of their last 10 games, including the last game right here. They currently trail the New York Mets by 6 games in the National League East, and they currently trail the San Diego Padres by 6.5 games for the second division spot in the National League, or the second wild card spot in the National League. Jumping out to New York, the New York Yankees hosted the Oakland Athletics and were able to pull off a 7-5 win at home, scoring 6 of their 7 runs in the 6th through 8th innings. For the Oakland Athletics, the start would end up going to their starting pitcher, Chris Bassitt. Bassitt would allow 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 7. The loss would go to the Athletics, their relief pitcher, Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo would allow 3 earned runs in .1 inning pitched. With this loss, Luzardo is now 2-4 as a relief pitcher on the season. In their batting lineup, their first baseman, Matt Olson, will go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs, and the only other player with more than 1 hit was their shortstop, Elvis Andrus. He would go 2 for 4 with a run on the day, and for the New York Yankees, the start would go to Domingo Germán. Domingo Germán would allow 4 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The win would go to the Yankees' second relief pitcher, Chad Green. Chad Green would end up allowing no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, Chad Green is now 2-4 as a relief pitcher for New York, and the save would end up going to Aroldis Chapman, who allowed 1 earned run in 1 inning pitched, striking out 2. He picked up his 15th save of the season last night. In their batting lineup, their elite right fielder Aaron Judge would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their elite designated hitter Giancarlo Stanton would go 2 for 2 with an RBI as he also walked twice as well. Their third baseman Gio Urshela will go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 9th home run of the season. And then their left fielder Clint Frazier will go 2 for 3 with 2 runs. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 37-33. That is the third best record in the American League East. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. They currently trail the division leading Boston Red Sox by 5.5 games in the division, and they currently trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 5 games for the second American League wildcard spot. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are now 44-28. That is the best record in the American League West. With this loss, they've only lost 2 of their last 10 games. They currently hold the number 1 seed in the American League despite this loss as well, as they sit 1 game ahead of the second place Houston Astros in their division. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Cubs hosted the Miami Marlins in Wrigley, and the Marlins would end up beating the Cubs 11-1, scoring all 11 of their runs before the Cubs could score their only run of the game. For the Chicago Cubs, the start and the loss will go to their starting pitcher, Jake Arrieta. He allowed 4 earned runs in 3 innings pitched as he struck out 5. With this loss, Jake Arrieta is now 5-8 on the season as a starting pitcher for Chicago. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would register more than 1 hit. Their team was held to only 3 hits all game. A lot of that can be attributed to great pitching for the Marlins. The start and the win went to Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 7 batters on the day. With this win, Pablo Lopez is now 3-4 as a starting pitcher for the Marlins. And in their batting lineup, their second baseman, Jazz Chisholm Jr., would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their right fielder, Adam Duvall, would go 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 3 runs, as Duvall would hit his 15th and 16th home runs of the season yesterday. Their left fielder, Jesus Sanchez, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. And with this win, the Miami Marlins are now 31-39. That is the worst record in the National League East. They have won their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. They currently trail the New York Mets by 8 games in the division, and they currently trail the San Diego Padres by 8.5 games for the second spot in the wild card, just to give a sense of where they sit at the moment. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 39-32. They are tied with the Milwaukee Brewers for the best record in the National League Central, as with this loss, they've now lost their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. They are currently holding on. They're tied with the Brewers for what would be the 3rd seed in the National League, as they sit 3rd out of the National League division leaders. to give a sense of where they are. And at the moment they sit 3 games ahead of the third place Cincinnati Reds in the division. Jumping out to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Pirates hosted the Cleveland Indians and were able to pull off a 6-3 home win, scoring all 6 of their runs in the 7th inning. For the Cleveland Indians in this matchup, the start would end up going to Cal Quantrill. Quantrill would allow no earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 2. The loss would end up going to their second relief pitcher, Brian Shaw. Shaw allowed 4 earned runs without registering an out. With this loss, he is now 1-2 as a relief pitcher for Cleveland. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their right fielder, Harold Ramirez. Ramirez would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 4th and 5th home runs of the season. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the start would end up going to Will Crowe. Will Crowe allowed 2 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 2. The win would go to their second relief pitcher, who in this matchup for Pittsburgh was Chris Stratton. He would allow no earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 1. With this win, Chris Stratton is now 2-0 as a relief pitcher for Pittsburgh. In their batting lineup, their center fielder, Brian Reynolds, would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 12th home run of the season. He was the only Pittsburgh Pirate with more than 1 hit. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 25-44. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as with this win, they've now won their last 2 games, and they've only won 2 of their last 10 games. With this win, they also have the second worst record in the National League, as they currently trail the San Diego Padres by 14 games for the second National League wildcard spot. They also trailed the Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers by 13 games in the division. With this loss, the Cleveland Indians are now 38-30. That is the second best record in the American League Central. They have now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 10. They sit 3.5 games behind the American League Central, the division leading Chicago White Sox, and they sit 3 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays for the second American League wildcard slot in the conference. Jumping out to Baltimore, the Baltimore Orioles hosted their division rivals, the Toronto Blue Jays, and in this matchup, the Blue Jays would beat the Orioles 10-7, as 6 of their 10 runs would come in the 9th inning to come from behind and beat the Orioles to get their 34th win of the season. For the Orioles, the start would go to Dean Kramer. He allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6 on the day. The loss would go to the Orioles' penultimate relief pitcher, Paul Fry. He would allow 4 earned runs in .2 innings pitched as he struck out 1. With this loss, Fry is 0-2 as a relief pitcher. In their batting lineup, their center fielder, Cedric Mullins, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Cedric Mullins would go on to hit his 12th and 13th home runs of the season yesterday. Their designated hitter, Ryan Mountcastle, would go 4 for 4 with 4 RBIs and 3 runs as Ryan Mountcastle hit his 10th, 11th, and 12th home runs of the season yesterday as well. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, the start will go to Alek Manoah. He allowed 5 earned runs in 3.1 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The win would go to the Toronto Blue Jays closer, Jordan Romano. Romano would allow no earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, Romano is now 4-1 as a relief pitcher for Toronto. In their batting lineup, their shortstop, Marcus Semien, would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs. He would go on to hit his 17th and 18th home runs of the season yesterday. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would go 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 23rd home run of the season. Their center fielder, Randall Grichuk, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI. And then their third baseman, Santiago Espinal, would end up going 2 for 2 with a run, as he also walked twice. With this win, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 34-35. That is the 4th best record in the American League East. They have won 3 of their last 7 games. They currently trail the division-leading Boston Red Sox by 8 games in the division, and they trail the Tampa Bay Rays currently by 7.5 games for the second wildcard spot in the conference. With this loss, the Baltimore Orioles are now 23-47. That is the worst record in the American League East, and that is the worst record in the American League as a whole. The only team with a worse record is the Arizona Diamondbacks, but just looking out to how they're faring, they've lost 9 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 19 and a half games behind the division leading Boston Red Sox, and they sit 19 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays for the second American League wildcard spot. Jumping out to Dallas, the Texas Rangers hosted the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins were able to beat the Rangers 3-2 after breaking the 2-2 tie in the seventh inning off of a walk with the bases loaded. For the Texas Rangers, the start would go to Colby Allard. He allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The loss would go to their only relief pitcher, John King. King would allow 1 earned run in 3 innings pitched as he struck out 1. With this loss, King is now 5-5 as a relief pitcher for the Texas Rangers. In their batting lineup, their shortstop, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, will go 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 6th home run of the season as well as his 14th double of the season. Their first baseman, Nate Lau, would go 2-for-4 on the day, and then their second baseman, Nick Solak, would go 2-for-4 as well. For the Minnesota Twins, the start would go to Randy Dobnak. He allowed 2 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he only struck out 1. The win would go to the Minnesota Twins' first relief pitcher, Caleb Thielbar. He would allow no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 1. With this win, Thielbar is now 2-0 as a relief pitcher for the season, and the save would end up going to their closer, Taylor Rogers. Rogers allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2 as he picked up his 7th save of the year. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, but their elite designated hitter, Nelson Cruz, would go 1-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 15th home run of the season. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are now 29-41. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central. They've won their last 3 games and 5 of their last 10. They currently sit 13.5 games behind the division leading Chicago White Sox at the moment, and they currently trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 13 games for the second wildcard spot in the American League. With this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 25-45. That is the worst record in the American League West. That is the second worst record in the American League, as they have lost their last 5 games and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 18 games behind the first place Oakland Athletics within the division, and they currently trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 17 games for the second American League wildcard slot. Jumping out to San Francisco, the San Francisco Giants hosted the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies were able to beat the Giants 13-6, and the first 3 innings the score was tied at 6, but then the Phillies would pull away, outscoring the Giants 7-0 between these 6th through 8th innings. For the San Francisco Giants, the start would go to Alex Wood. He allowed 4 earned runs in 3 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The loss would go to the Giants' third relief pitcher, Harlan Garcia. Garcia would allow 2 earned runs in .1 inning pitched as the only out he registered was a strikeout. With this loss, Garcia is now 0-2 for the Giants this season. In the Giants batting lineup, their left fielder, Lamonte Wade Jr., would go 2-for-5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. And then the only other player with more than 1 hit on their team was their right fielder, Mike Yastrzemski. He went 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the season. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the start went to Aaron Nola. He allowed 6 earned runs in 2.1 innings pitched as he struck out 1. The win would go to the Phillies' first relief pitcher, Ranger Suarez. Suarez would allow no earned runs in 2.2 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this win, Ranger Suarez is now 3-1 for the Phillies this year. In their batting lineup, their first baseman, Rhys Hoskins, would go 3-for-6 with 6 RBIs and 2 runs, as Rhys Hoskins would hit his 14th and 15th home runs of the season. Their third baseman, Alec Bohm, would go 3-for-4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs for himself. Alec Bohm would have a good game as well. Their second baseman, Luke Williams, would end up going 2-for-5 with an RBI and a run. And then their shortstop, Ronald Torreyes, would end up going 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs, as Ronald Torreyes would hit his 2nd home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the Philadelphia Phillies are now 34-34. That is the 2nd best record in the National League East, as they have now won 6 of their last 10 games. They currently trail the division-leading New York Mets by 4 games in the division, and they currently sit 4.5 games behind the second-place San Diego Padres behind the San Diego Padres for the 2nd spot in the National League wild card. And then with this loss, the San Francisco Giants are now 45-26. That is currently the best record in the National League West. That is the best record in the National League. And at the moment, that is currently the best record in the MLB for now. They have currently won. With this loss, they've only lost 3 of their last 7 games. They currently sit a game and a half ahead of the second place Los Angeles Dodgers in the division, to give a sense of where they are following this matchup. Jumping out to Kansas City, the Kansas City Royals hosted the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox were able to beat the Royals 7-1, as the Red Sox scored 4 of their 7 runs in the 5th inning alone. And for the Kansas City Royals in this matchup, the start and the loss would go to Brad Keller. Brad Keller allowed 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 4 on the day. With this loss, Brad Keller is 6-7 as a starting pitcher. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit for the Royals was their shortstop, Nicky Lopez. He went 2 for 4 with a run on the day. For the Boston Red Sox, the start and the win went to Martin Perez. Perez would allow 1 earned run in 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 3. With this win, Perez is now 5-4 as a starting pitcher on the year. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their first baseman, Bobby Dalbec. He went 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs, as he hit his 9th home run of the season. And then their elite designated hitter, JD Martinez, would go 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as JD Martinez hit his 14th home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the Boston Red Sox are now 43-28. That is now the best record in the American League East, and they are now hold tied with the Chicago White Sox for what would be the 2nd seed in the American League at the moment. They have now won 6 of their last 10 games. They sit half a game ahead of the second place Tampa Bay Rays in the division, to give a sense of where the Boston Red Sox are sitting after this. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 31-38. That is the 3rd best record in the American League Central, as they have now lost 8 of their last 10 games. They now trail the Chicago White Sox by 11 games in the division, and they trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 10.5 games for the 2nd American League wildcard slot. Jumping out to San Diego, the San Diego Padres hosted the Cincinnati Reds, and the Padres were able to pull up a 7-5 win at home, as they broke the 5-5 tie off of a 2-run home run from Ha-Sung Kim. For the Cincinnati Reds, the start would end up going to Vladimir Gutierrez. Gutierrez would allow 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 4. The loss would go to the Cincinnati Reds' second relief pitcher, Heath Hembree. Hembree would allow 2 earned runs in .2 innings pitched, as he struck out 2. With this loss, Hembree is 1-2 as a relief pitcher for Cincinnati on the season. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Jonathan India, will go 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their left fielder, Jesse Winker, will go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run, as Winker would hit his 14th double of the season. And then their elite third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs on the day. For the San Diego Padres, the start would go to Miguel Diaz. Diaz would allow 2 earned runs in 2 innings pitched, as he struck out 2. The win would go to the Padres' third relief pitcher, Nabil Crismatt. Crismatt allowed no earned runs in 3 innings pitched, as he struck out 3. With this win, he is now 2-1 as a relief pitcher for San Diego, and the save will go to Mark Melancon. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched, as he struck out 1 on the day. With this save, he now has 20 on the year. And in their batting lineup, their left fielder, Tommy Pham, would go 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their right fielder, Will Myers, would go 2 for 4. And with this win, the San Diego Padres are now 41-32. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West, as they have now won their last 3 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. They currently trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 5 games in the division, and at the moment, the Padres are holding on to the 2nd spot in the National League wild card, as they sit 3.5 games behind the first seed in the wild card, Los Angeles Dodgers, and they sit 1 game ahead of the Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers, or at least because right now they're tied. Whichever the second team is, they both sit 1 game behind the San Diego Padres in the wild card race. Jumping out to, or with this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are now 35-34. That is the 3rd best record in the National League Central. They have now lost their last 3 games, and they've now lost 4 of their last 10. The Cincinnati Reds now trail the Chicago Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers by 3 games in the division, and they now trail the San Diego Padres by 4 games in the wild card playoff picture. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Astros hosted the Chicago White Sox, and the Astros were able to pull off a 7-3 win at home as 4 of their 7 runs came in the third inning. For the Chicago White Sox, the start and the loss would go to Lance Lynn. He allowed 6 runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. With this loss, Lance Lynn is now 7-3 on the season for the White Sox. In their batting lineup, their third baseman, Yoan Moncada, will go 2 for 3 with an RBI. Their catcher, Yasmani Grandal, will go 2 for 4. And then their left fielder, Andrew Vaughn, will go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he had his 6th home run of the season. For the Houston Astros, the start in the win will go to Framber Valdez. He allowed 3 runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 5. With his win, he's now 4-0 as a starting pitcher for the Astros on the year. And in their batting lineup, their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their designated hitter, Michael Brantley, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. And then the only other player with more than 1 hit was their center fielder, Miles Straw. He would go 2 for 4 with a run on the day. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 42-28. That is the second best record in the American League West. They have now won their last 6 games. That is the best winning streak in the American League. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. At the moment, they trail the division-leading Oakland Athletics by a game in the division, and they are currently holding on to the top wild card spot in the American League, as they are sitting even with the other team that they're sharing their wild card spot with, the Tampa Bay Rays. And then with this loss, the Chicago White Sox are now 43-28. That is the best record in the American League Central, as they have now lost their last 3 games and 4 of their last 10. They are now tied with the Boston Red Sox for the second best record in the American League total. They now sit 3.5 games ahead of the second place Cleveland Indians in their division following this loss. Despite the loss, they still sit that high up. Jumping out to Denver, the Colorado Rockies hosted the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Brewers were able to come from behind and beat the Rockies 6-5 after scoring 2 of their runs in the 9th inning thanks to a Willy Adames home run. For the Rockies, the start was given to Austin Gomber. He allowed 2 earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 1. The loss will go to the Rockies closer, Tyler Kinley. He allowed 2 earned runs in 1 inning pitched, and with this loss, he would blow his second save of the year. And with this loss, Kinley is now 1-1 as a relief pitcher. In their batting lineup, their left fielder, Raimel Tapia, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their center fielder, Jonathan Daza, will go 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Their shortstop, Trevor Story, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then their third baseman, Ryan McMahon, will go 2 for 5 with an RBI for himself. For the Milwaukee Brewers, their start would go to Adrian Hauser. Hauser would allow 5 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. The win will go to the Brewers' second relief pitcher, Trevor Richards, as he allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched, striking out 1. With this win, Richards is now 2-0 as a relief pitcher, and the save will go to their elite closer, Josh Hader. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 2. That'd be his 18th save of the year. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Luis Urias, would end up going 2 for 4 with 3 runs, and their shortstop, Willy Adames, would go 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs. Adames would hit his 9th home run of the season. That would be the home run in the 9th inning, the go-ahead home run. And then their third baseman, Daniel Robertson, would end up going 2 for 4 for the day. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 39-32. They are now tied with the Chicago Cubs for the best record in the National League Central, as the Brewers have now won 5 of their last 10 games. At the moment, both teams sit 3 games ahead of the second-place Cincinnati Reds in the division following this win. And with this loss, the Colorado Rockies are now 30-42. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they have now lost 5 of their last 10 games. They now trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 15.5 games in the division, and they now trail the San Diego Padres by 10.5 games for the second wild card spot at the moment. Jumping out to Anaheim, the Los Angeles Angels hosted the Detroit Tigers and were able to pull off an 8-3 win at home, as 4 of their 8 runs came in the 3rd inning. For the Tigers, the start and the loss would end up going to to Willie Peralta. Peralta allowed 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 2. With this loss, Willie Peralta is 0-1 as a starting pitcher for the Tigers this year. In their batting lineup, their first baseman Jonathan Schoop would end up going 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 13th home run of the season yesterday. Their center fielder Daz Cameron would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as Daz Cameron hit his 2nd home run of the season. And then last but not least, for the Tigers, their catcher Jake Rogers would go 2 for 3. For the Los Angeles Angels, the start in the win would go to Patrick Sandoval. He allowed 3 earned runs in 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 9 on the day. With this win, Patrick Sandoval is 2-2 as a starting pitcher for the Angels. In their batting lineup, their left fielder Justin Upton will go 2 for 5 on the day. Their first baseman Jared Walsh would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as Jared Walsh hit his 17th home run of the season. And their second baseman David Fletcher would go 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. And additionally, within their lineup, their designated hitter Shohei Ohtani would go 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as he would go on to hit his 22nd home run of the year. With this win, the Los Angeles Angels are now 36-35. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West, as they have now won their last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. They currently trail the division-leading Oakland Athletics by 7.5 games in the division, and they currently trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 6.5 games for the 2nd American League wildcard spot. With this loss, the Detroit Tigers are now 29-42. That is the worst record in the American League Central, and that is the 3rd worst record in the American League in total, as they have currently lost their last 3 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail the division-leading Chicago White Sox by 14 games, and they trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 13.5 games in the wild card playoff push. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the defending champs were able to beat the Diamondbacks 9-3 on the road, as they scored all 9 of their runs before the Diamondbacks could score their 3 in the 8th inning. For the Diamondbacks, the start and the loss would go to Matt Peacock. Matt Peacock would allow 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this loss, Matt Peacock is 2-5 on the season. In their batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. That will be attributed to great pitching from the LA Dodgers. The start and the win will go to their elite starting pitcher, Walker Buehler. He allowed 2 earned runs in 7.1 innings pitched as he struck out 11 on the day. With this win, Walker Buehler is now 7-0 as a starting pitcher for the Dodgers this season. In their batting lineup, their third baseman, Justin Turner, would end up going 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run. Their catcher, Will Smith, would end up going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run with his 8th home run of the season. And with this win, the Los Angeles Dodgers are now 43-27. That is the 2nd best record in the National League West. They have now won their last 2 games in 8 of their last 10. They currently trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 1.5 games at the moment, and they are currently holding on to the first National League wildcard slot, as they sit 3.5 games ahead of the 2nd-place San Diego Padres, and they sit 4.5 games ahead of the first teams that are sitting outside of the wildcard picture, the Cubs and the Brewers, because, of course, they're both tied at the moment. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 20-52. That is the worst record in the National League West, and that is the worst record. That is the worst record in the National League, and that is the worst record in the major leagues in total. They have lost their last 16 games. They currently trail the division-leading San Francisco Giants by 25.5 games in the division, and they currently trail the San Diego Padres by 20.5 games in the National League Wild Card playoff push. Last but not least, jumping out to Seattle, the Seattle Mariners hosted the Tampa Bay Rays and were able to pull off a 6-5 win in the 10th inning thanks to a walk-off single from Mitch Haniger. For the Tampa Bay Rays in this matchup, the start would be given to their starting pitcher, Josh Fleming. Fleming allowed 5 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 5. The loss would end up going to their closer, J.P. Feyereisen, who allowed 1 run without registering an out. With this loss, Feyereisen is 3-3 as a relief pitcher this season. The only player for the Rays with more than 1 hit was their second baseman, Joey Wendell. He went 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as he would have a pretty good game for himself. And then for the Seattle Mariners, the start would go to Logan Gilbert. He allowed 4 earned runs in 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 7. 7. The win will go to the Mariners closer, Rafael Montero. He allowed no earned runs in one inning pitched, and with this win, Montero is 4-2 on the season for the Mariners. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than one hit was their third baseman, Kyle Seager. With his win, he would go 2-for-4 with a run on the day. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 37-36 on the season. That is the fourth best record in the American League West, as they have won their last 3 games and 6 of their last 10. They currently trail the division-leading Oakland Athletics by 7.5 games in the division, and they currently trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 6.5 games in the wild card race. With this loss, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 43-29. That is the second best record in the American League East, as they have now lost their last 5 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They currently trail the Boston Red Sox by half a game in the division. And right now they are currently tied with they have one more win and one more loss than the Houston Astros, so they're sitting about even, but they're holding the second spot in the wild card, the American League wild card right now. They sit 3 games ahead of the first team out, the Cleveland Indians, at the very moment, to give a sense of where they are. So that is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Looking out to what's going on today. First, before getting into it, there is a doubleheader matchup in Atlanta, as the Atlanta Braves are going to host the St. Louis Cardinals. The first matchup of this doubleheader will be at 2:10, as Bryce Wilson for the Atlanta Braves is going to host Adam Wainwright for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then at 7:10, the second matchup will be on ESPN, as Drew Smyly makes the start for Atlanta and Kwang Hyun Kim is going to make the start for the St. Louis Cardinals. Outside of the doubleheader, at 1:05, JT Brubaker and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Sam Hentges and the Cleveland Indians. At the same time, at 1:05, Patrick Corbin and the Washington Nationals are going to host Taijuan Walker and the New York Mets. Taijuan Walker is currently sporting a 6-2 record alongside a 2.12 ERA. At the same time, at 1:05, Jordan Montgomery and the New York Yankees are going to host Sean Manaea and the Oakland Athletics. Jordan Montgomery is currently sporting a 3-1 record alongside a 4.20 ERA, and Sean Manaea is currently sporting a 6-2 record alongside a 2.99 ERA. At the same time, at 1:05, Matt Harvey and the Baltimore Orioles are going to host the Toronto Blue Jays, led by their elite starting pitcher Hyunjin Ryu. Hyunjin Ryu is sporting a 5-4 record alongside a 3.43 ERA this season. At 2:10, Mike Minor and the Kansas City Royals are going to host Nathan Eovaldi and the Boston Red Sox. At the same time, Lance McCullers Jr. and the Houston Astros are going to host Dallas Keuchel and the Chicago White Sox. Lance McCullers Jr. is currently sporting a 3-1 record alongside a 2.89 ERA. Dallas Keuchel is currently sporting a 6-1 record alongside a 3.78 ERA. At 2:20, Alec Mills and the Chicago Cubs are going to host Zach Thompson and the Miami Marlins. Zach Thompson is currently sporting a 1-1 record alongside a 2.25 ERA. At 2:35, Dane Dunning and the Texas Rangers are going to host Kenta Maeda and the Minnesota Twins. At 3:10, Chichi Gonzalez and the Colorado Rockies are going to host Eric Lauer and the Milwaukee Brewers. At 4:05, Sammy Long and the San Francisco Giants are going to host Zach Eflin and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 4:07, Dylan Bundy and the Los Angeles Angels are going to host Casey Mize and the Detroit Tigers. Casey Mize is currently rocking a 4-4 record alongside a 3.49 ERA. At 4:10, Dinelson Lamet and the San Diego Padres are going to host Luis Castillo and the Cincinnati Reds. At the same time, at 4:10 on ESPN+, Alex Young and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Tony Gonsolin and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Gonsolin is currently he has not registered a win or a loss this season, but he's currently holding on to a 3.38 ERA. And then at the same time, at 4:10, Marco Gonzalez and the Seattle Mariners are going to host Shane McClanahan and the Tampa Bay Rays. So, of course, that's what's going on with baseball. Taking a look at what's going on, especially as we take a look at the games as we leave the continent, but stay within the hemisphere. Starting off in Copa America, Venezuela is going to host Ecuador at 5, as both of these teams are sitting with the third and fourth spots in Group A in Copa America. A win would be very important, would be very big for both. And then the second matchup will be between Colombia and Peru at 8 o'clock, as Colombia is now sitting second in the Group A table. Peru definitely needs a win at this point if they want to make the knockout stage, but right now that's what that's looking like. And then jumping to the UEFA European Championship, it will be the final two games of Group A. Both games will be at 12 o'clock, as of course they want all of their, they're going to have all their games finished at this, they're going to have at least for Group A, all their matches finished at the same time, so they know which teams are going to qualify for the knockout stage. At 12 o'clock, Italy is going to host Wales. Italy currently holds the best record in the table, and they've already clinched a spot in the knockout stage. Wales holds the second best record in Group A as they hold 4 points. A win would more than a draw would definitely send them through as they sit 3 points ahead of Switzerland. But I mean, more than likely, it seems as though they're going to go through because they have a +5 goal differential. And if Italy doesn't beat Wales incredibly badly, Wales should be able to advance all the way through. So right now, that is what soccer is looking like, and that's everything that I've got going on as we navigate. But first, looking at what went down yesterday, because I guess I'm going to go in that order today. In European Championships, Hungary hosted France for the second second matchup in Group F, and with this game would end up in a draw as France's equalizer in the second half would come from their elite forward Antoine Griezmann. And with this draw, they now sit at the very top of the table with 4 points still. And in the other game in Group F, Germany was able to beat Portugal in Munich 4-2. The first goal for Portugal will come from their goated forward Cristiano Ronaldo, scoring his very first game against the German international team. And then Portugal will give up 2 own goals in the first half, so Germany would be up 2-1 at half. In the second half, Germany's elite young center attacking mid, Kai Havertz, would put them up 3-1, and then Gosens, their left back, would end up putting them up 4-1 before Diogo Jota would give Portugal their second goal. With this 4-2 win, Germany now sits tied with Portugal for the second best record in Group F. Now Germany's last game is going to be against Hungary, and Portugal's is going to be against France. So that's how that group is looking out. And then Spain is going to face off against Poland, and this game ended up in a draw as Alvaro Morata would score the only goal for Spain, and then Poland's only goal would come as an equalizer from their elite forward Robert Lewandowski in the 54th minute. But that was everything that's everything that I've got for you going on with sports. Once again, today is Sunday, June 20th, 2021. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Monday, June 21st for another episode of The Elite. And until then, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I want to thank the NBA, NHL, MLB, the ESPN, and the UEFA websites respectively. Of course, for giving me the figures and the numbers that I need in order to do this episode. And once again, I want to thank everyone for the last time for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I hope to catch you guys with another episode tomorrow. Thanks once again for listening to my piece, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.